Hello, everybody. Today we are doing part 2 of this etching ink drawing. Welcome to Art Prof. This is our global art party. I'm going to show you guys, this is the original reference on the left-hand side. The link is in the video description below. But what I did do is on the right-hand side, I made it black and white, and I also increased the contrast. That's something that I pretty much always do anytime there is a reference that I'm going to be using. Okay, let's get into it, everybody. Okay. Tell me in the comments, what has your week been like? Any plans for the weekend? I've got plans to, I don't know. I don't have plans yet. I'm sure there are things I need to do. Today, these are the supplies that I'm going to be using. These are Korn's lithographic crayon pencils. I might decide to use some of this lithographic rubbing ink, but I'm not sure because the issue with it is it's incredibly blunt and very sticky. I may want to do more refinements. Depending on how things go, I'm also going to be scratching with this X-Acto knife, and I might try some other types of blades. I have in the past used razor blades quite a bit, so we'll see. But the first thing I'm going to use are these crayons, because one of the things that I like to do in the beginning is to really solidify some of the areas that get a lot more tricky. And a reminder to everybody, the ebook is $20 this time, just for this live stream. This discount ends at the end of this live stream, so if you guys want to get it now, the link is in the pinned message in the chat. Tell me in the comments if you have gotten one of our ebooks. We do have a bunch of ebooks now for MFA portfolios, Instagram Reels, and color. I'm going to go right into the eyes because I feel like that's the area that is the most obvious in terms of needing something that is more dramatic. No, this doesn't feel hard. Maybe I should use the smaller one? I don't know. This one feels a little bit too slippery. Ah, this one's better. The litho crayons come in multiple hardnesses, and I tend to like the ones that are not so hard. This one I think is a number 2, but I'd actually much rather have one that is a little bit softer, but I couldn't find any. Things like this that got lost the first time through, this crease in between the nose. I'm going in and adding things like this wrinkle that's more at the top. And the nose especially, sort of a wreck from last time. But I stayed pretty far from the reference. At least this time I want to. Because when I developed this technique years ago, I really was staying pretty close to the reference, but since I did that new series of the shrouded drawings, that's not really that important to me anymore. All right, here I'm giving more form to the eyelid because the eyebrows aren't really that visible, but I do want to have some indication. Actually, I'm going to zoom in so all of you can see the mouth better because the mouth needs so much work. Oh shoot, my camera is like so weirdly positioned. Sorry about this. Okay, I'm going to zoom way in to that mouth. Good, that should be better. Because, oh man, the mouth is really floppy looking. A lot of this process is about building up the tension in the flesh because everything just looks very soft and mushy right now. And so I'm trying to find pockets where I want more tension. Sometimes I like doing cross-hatching to help me define the form. I mean, even if it ends up not looking like cross-hatching, it's a nice option. So I feel like I'm sculpting the form a little bit better. And this is a technique that I was working on quite a bit in, I think, like 2010. I don't know that I'll come back to it. Right now I'm pretty into the fromage work, but you never know. Who here wanted to get to art this week, but it didn't happen for one reason or another? I got an email from somebody a few days ago. They were telling me about all of these life things that were happening and how they really wanted to try to figure out how to get started again. And I think that's common. People are away from art for one reason or another, sometimes for years, and that's fine. But I do think it's hard to start up again. It's like, oh, what do I do? It's hard to find that inspiration. Tell me your tips. If you are coming back from a break, what is something in the past that has worked for you in terms of getting back into it? I think oftentimes if you're with a group of people who can hold you accountable, that's a big help, because I think we all want that accountability. It's not always the easiest thing for us to find. Okay, here there's a shadow core. So I'm going to make this part of the shadow darker, and this part's going to be a little lighter. The other thing I do too is I will go in later with the X-Acto knife, and that allows me to clean up some of the areas. So actually the scraping is not just the etching ink. I do quite a bit of scraping in the pencil as well. Okay, this edge of the face, I like to get a nice clean outline, or at the very least to differentiate the hair from that area, because actually this is all in shadow, so I probably should just go over that whole thing. Yeah, like I totally lost the shadow last time, so let's bring it back. So you're basically emphasizing and clearing up a couple things that really get lost in the etching ink process. Okay. Let's see what everybody is up to. Yes, this is a litho crayon, and this is actually a pencil holder, pencil extender, because this thing is like really, really small. I haven't bought these in years and years. I definitely need to get more. Neil says, the crayon marks look cooler than the rubbing ink. Is that just the camera? They are cooler. The etching ink color that I'm using, it's called Renaissance Black. It's made by Graphic Chemical, which is a printmaking company, and it definitely has a burnt umber base to it. It feels very black, but it is a brownish color, and I find that this tends to be cooler, and that's something to balance as well. Like, I always try to make sure that I distribute the lithographic pencil evenly throughout the composition so I don't have that weird color change that happens. Well, thank you very much, George, because the color ebook, as people may have seen, it is $20 instead of $25 during this stream only. If you want to find it, the link is in the pinned messages at the top, and it's going to go away, that discount, at the end of this stream. George says, explains things from several points of view, provides a lot of useful exercises. That is something I was very proud of because usually when you get a book, it's by one person. And certainly there are some really fantastic books on color. But we really had a great time working on this all together. So you hear multiple people's point of view on the same thing, which is really fun. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked the Reels ebook, Anna. Yeah, the thing about all these things, everybody, none of it is remotely as complicated as it may seem at first, but it's like you need the answers at the back of the textbook. Like when somebody just drops the answers in your lap, things get a lot easier from there. George says, kind of ironic to offer a discount on the color ebook during a stream on micro process. Yes, maybe I should think that through next time. But we don't have an ebook on value. Someday. And Nancy says, I can't think of a time I've ever stopped. I can't relate stopping or not being into it. I change mediums all the time. So maybe that's why I never lose my mojo. That's great. I feel like since I've gotten older, the chunks of time that I spend working, they're getting shorter and shorter. But I think I've gotten very good at consolidating my time. I feel like I'm pretty productive, even if I only have a few hours. I feel like in my head, things are gelling the whole time. And that really helps me a lot. So I think I may not get in the number of hours I used to get, but I definitely use my time very well. And that's something that I never really did before. And by the way, everybody, reminder, if you'd like to draw along with me, you can come into the Art Alongs channel. I believe I saw that Lisa is going to be doing some drawings from the Draw Me channel. That is in Art Club, where we've all posted lots of reference images of ourselves, of our pets, and it's been a really fun reference collection because it's people you know, it's pets you know. Because if I just look up dog on Pinterest, I mean, sure, that's a good way to start, but it's so different when the person who owns that dog can tell you about that dog and all their personalities. I just really enjoy that a lot. Okay, let's get back into this. Actually, I think I want to do the head. I think well, not the head, the eyes. The eyes are really bothering me. No, I probably should work on this. This definitely needs a lot of work, everybody. It's been so long since I've done this technique. I really feel like I'm in a time machine or something, working on these pieces that I just feel like are so far away from where I was before. I guess last time I wasn't really doing cross-hatching. I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking about cross-hatching because of that figure drawing that I did last time. But the idea is that the cross-hatching won't be visible later. I do want to just use the hatching as a means of building up. So I'm going to do multiple layers of the hatching here. Yeah, if you guys want that color ebook, now is the time to get it, because it is $5 off, $20 instead of $25. But we also have other ebooks too, so you guys can take a look. Well, let me ask you guys about drawing, since that's what we're doing. What do you think are the hardest things to do in drawing? Do you think it's shading, or is it a particular skill like cross-hatching, figure drawing? Because I'm always trying to figure out what are the things that really get people stuck. Because we have the ability to get stuck anytime on anything. But I think what I'm trying to figure out is what are the most common places that people get stuck so I can address them. Because I didn't realize, and actually tell me in the chat if you guys have experienced this, but we were having a mod call, the mods in the Discord, and something that came up was people said, well, I just have trouble figuring out what to draw. For example, people have, let's say, okay, I've got an hour or two this afternoon. I want to make some work, but people say to me, I don't know what to draw. Who here has had that impulse? Because I actually think it's way more common than I thought. One of the things that we do give people as an option is the free reference photo collection we have. That's usually a great place to go just because there's so much variety on there. We have, I mean, almost anything you want to draw is on there. Or we do have some sketchbook prompts where we say to people, draw what's right in front of you. And people have made some really cool pieces just drawing that mundane thing that's sitting in front of you. So tell me in the comments, when you are at that I don't know what to draw thing, where do you go? Do you have a strategy for doing that? Oh God, I forgot how much I have to layer. It's like 3 or 4 layers to make this happen. I kind of feel like I don't want to do too much here, but then again, I really lost her neck, so maybe I'll bring the neck back. Maybe that will just give me a little bit more structure. I mean, another option, I know some people really like our time drawing videos, and those are really nice because you just press play and you don't have to go through photos. It just does it for you. If you guys want to find those, you can go to our website and just type in timed into the search bar and something will pop up. We do have a page that consolidates all of those in one place. I'm also erring on going a little bit too dark because I know that I could scrape it down. Because I err on adding too much crayon and then knowing I can scrape it away. And that's a nice feeling, knowing that that is an option. Okay, let's beef up this shadow core. I want to get a little bit darker, so that way we can have a little sliver of reflected light, which is right here. That's what I'm drawing. It's a little bit coarse right now. I mean, I guess when I was a kid, I just did the draw what's in front of you all the time because we didn't have Pinterest or Google image search. Like, who remembers that time when if you wanted an image of something, you'd have to find it in a magazine or a newspaper? Like, there wasn't this like instant search result thing that everybody has now. Who remembers that? Because now it's like instant, thousands of pictures right at your fingertips, which is why I think sometimes it seems like it should be so easy to find a good reference, but it's not. And that's why most of the time I really prefer to shoot my own photos, because the ones online, there's always something wrong with them. It's like they're not high enough resolution or the angle's not right. I think especially if you're drawing something like hands, that's something it's like you're never going to find that pose exactly that you're looking for. Okay, let's move up to the eyes. And keep telling me into the comments for drawing, what are the biggest challenges that you have had? Drawing is hard in general, but there are definitely certain things that are harder than others. So I'm just going to answer this question that Neil is asking. He says, how does it feel to draw with the litho pencil? Is it soft, smeary, stiff, etc.? It really depends on the actual crayon, because some of them are sticky because they're nice and soft. But the number 5 is really hard, and it verges on feeling like a pencil because it's so hard. This one, I think, is a number 2. This one is not smeary, but it's not super soft. It's sort of like, has anybody here used a China marker? It's kind of like that, but the pigment is more intense. Like a China marker doesn't usually get like a nice, rich black, but the litho crayon absolutely will have that. Actually, I'm going to scrape. I think I drew too many wrinkles there. I'm going to mute because the scraping is really loud, and I don't think you guys want to listen to that. Okay, I'm back. And then there was another question. Neil's asking, can you smudge the litho pencil? Not really. It's a lot like the Caran d'Ache crayons. Oh, hang on. I got to scrape this down too. I feel like I put too much up there. Give me a second. And a reminder to everybody, if you have a question, super helpful for me. If you put question in caps, it's easier for me to find it. But if I do miss it entirely, always feel free to put that question in there again. And remember, everybody, the color ebook has a discount just during the stream. That discount goes away when this stream is over. The link is in the pinned messages in the chat. If you guys can't find it, you can ask somebody else, and I'm sure they can direct you. Oh, the nose is really flat. I'm going to emphasize this shadow way more. It's like barely there. There's almost no shadow, but I'm just going to pump it up because there's a highlight here. There's a highlight here, but if I don't make this darker, it's just going to look like that same flat white. especially this crease, I think disappeared. And so sometimes that's what you do. Like, even though these shadows are not that dark, if I don't darken them, I'm going to lose the three-dimensionality of the nose. And oh God, I totally lost this. That I might have to scrape into. Yeah, I think I gotta, hang on, I gotta scrape that down. You can see how easily that scrapes. And it's also really nice because now I can go over it again. So a lot of this technique is scratching, layering, scratching some more. It's all those things. It's all about the multiple layers. And I will post some of these into the Discord so everybody can see. Question from Nancy, what is the difference between gesso board and clay board? Why would I want to choose one over the other? My understanding, and maybe some of you guys can chime in because I actually haven't used clay board that much, but I think number one, clay board is way smoother. Super, super smooth. I have some gesso board made by Ampersand, and the gesso board, it is smooth, but it's not like silky smooth the way that the clay board is. And I feel like there's a degree of layering you can put in there that you won't get with the gesso board. I mean, to me, gesso board is for painting and clay board is for drawing. That's my definition, but I don't think it matters. I mean, certainly you can probably just paint on top of clay board as well. But I also think my former professor, Tony Janello, I'm pretty sure he used clay board with Caran d'Ache crayons, and it is just a more rigid surface. So when you're layering and adding so many things, it's just a lot easier because you have a surface that can really withstand that. I mean, my preference in general is usually to draw on some kind of panel because it's just so much more stable. That's one of the reasons why for soft pastel, I was so excited because Ampersand made something called pastel board, and it's this toothy surface that you can do soft pastel on top of. And to me, that just feels so much better than using a sheet of paper, because soft pastel drawings, they're already quite fragile to begin with. And so for me, if I feel like, oh, okay, I have this nice rigid surface, that just feels better. Tell me in the comments, how many people prefer paper? How many people like having panels? Oh God, you guys, I'm rusty. I can't remember the last time I worked on a piece like this, because this is different than, say, that figure drawing that I did a ways back. I feel like I need to add more of these nuances, because the thing about the etching ink is the etching ink is so blunt. It's so, oops, shoot. These things break a lot. It's super blunt, and so it's not very good in terms of gray tones, the etching ink. And so that's one of the purposes of adding the lithographic crayon. So again, this is too dark, but I'm okay with that. I'm pulling out those wrinkles again. I felt like they were weird, too long before. Remember, pick my brain about anything that's on your mind. What's on your mind this week for art? Did you find a new artist? Are you thinking about art supplies? Question from Randy. Do you hate your old art? I feel like artists hating their own art is just a phase. I don't think I hate my own art, but I think I get frustrated where I say, okay, well, that didn't work the way I want it to. But usually if it's in the past, I'm like, okay, move on. So I guess I get frustrated in the moment, Randy, but usually I can move on. I mean, one thing that really helps is if you take that old art and just put it somewhere else so you don't have to look at it. And other things that help too are one of my friends in art school said this, and I thought it made so much sense. He said the way to think about your past pieces, especially ones that you're not that into, is to say to yourself, I learned from it, and that's the important thing. He said, if you learn from it, that is a worthwhile experience. Because I just don't think any artwork you make is ever a waste of time. Because every artwork you make is some kind of experience. And the thing is, those experiments where we get frustrated, they're important. I mean, if we succeeded all the time, I feel like, well, number one, that's not going to happen. But number two, sometimes it's pieces that really did not go well that I learned a lot from. Tell me in the comments, do you guys have an artwork you can think of that really did not go well, but that you think was valuable from a learning point of view? Because some of the learning moments that to me were the most impactful in art school were like that because I got a harsh crit, because one of the professors was like, yep, bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not doing that again. And that's a worthwhile lesson. Tell me in the comments, how many people really feel like you hate your art? Because for me, I don't know, I just feel like that would just frustrate me. To me, it's different between being frustrated with your art versus hating it. But I understand that that is something that a lot of people do feel at a certain point, and that's all valid as well. Yeah, I've been using panels a lot because of the fumage pieces I'm doing. And I really like them. It just feels nice and cozy. I don't know. I like the rigidity of it. Okay, let me take a photo, and we're going to get this work in progress into the Discord. And that way you guys can see progress. And I'm also going to come into the Discord and see what people are up to. Because remember, everybody, feel free to draw along with me and post your stuff. I'm happy to give you a shout out. Okay, looks like we have some pieces from Anna of your graphic novel. Yeah, we talked about these quite a bit at Open Studios in Art Club this week, and it's been so great, Anna, watching your progress with this graphic novel. We also have Jen trying to do small landscape paintings. Started this one last night, going to finish the building, maybe start another one during the streams. Oh, I love how rich that is, Jen. You and I have been talking quite a bit about landscapes, and love how muted and subtle these mountains are. Like they're really pushing back. And then the building here, it really feels like softly nestled into that landscape. Oh, I'm so excited to see where that goes, Jen. So here, you guys can see better. Okay, so look at the scraping on the nose. Maybe that's a little, oh, here it is. Here you can really see the scraping. Okay, so these white strokes, this is all where I scraped with the X-Acto knife. And then here, this is all crayon. This is etching ink. There's a little bit of crayon on top, but not as much. Selena says, working on my first composition for AV in August. Oh my gosh. Is this on crackle paste, Selena's? Because I can see if I zoom way in. Oh, that is really beautiful. Or did you paint the cracks? Oh, I'm so curious how you got this effect, Selena's. Maybe it's the paper. I have no idea. I'm super curious. Sarah says, working on a commission tonight. Wow, you are so good at these dramatic urban landscapes, Sarah. The way you capture the like glowing light and, oh my gosh, going all the way back here, that's really incredible. Oh, it's digital, Selena's. Okay, because I was like, what is this like a ceramic tile? Because that's sort of what I associate that pattern with, but that's really fantastic. And a reminder, everybody, that the color ebook has a discount until the end of this stream. You can pick it up at a reduced rate. The link is in the chat. I pinned that link at the top. If people can't find it, just let me know. Okay, let's see what else people are talking about in the chat. So here are some of the things that people find challenging in terms of drawing. Neil says composition. Ariel says accurate measurements by sight. Brandon says overthinking. Really great point, because it's common that we'll say, okay, these skills, but the mindset is extremely impactful on how our drawing goes. Brandon says, I often find myself judging the piece while drawing or trying to learn something new. My recommendation for that, I like to listen to something that requires a little bit of focus, because if I listen to music, it's easier for me to do that. But if I'm listening to a podcast or if I'm listening to NPR, I have to pay attention in order to listen to that. And sometimes if I focus on what they're talking about in the podcast, then I don't stress as much. For example, I've told some of you guys I'm in Jay Klaus's community now, and he has a lot of wonderful courses and lectures. And so I just turn on one of his lectures when I'm working. George says proportions. Brandon says sticking to one subject. You don't always have to. I think it's really healthy to jump around and draw all kinds of different things. Okay, so Ariel has a hard time choosing what to draw. It's like being in a candy store, gamifying my choices. Hey, whatever works. That's what I think. So Nancy says perspective, lighting, and proportions. I'm obsessed with the shading. It's a whole vibe for me. You know, I started using the word vibe because of Jordan, because he's like, it's a vibe. And I didn't understand it. And I think I kind of understand it now. Jen says cross-hatching is hard. I never like how mine looks, and anatomy is difficult because you have to have structure, but also look fleshy. Cross-hatching is very hard. It's usually not a technique that I recommend people start with. And even people who have a decent amount of drawing experience is still very hard. It's so specific. My kid and I have been looking recently at a lot of Gustave Doré engravings, and it's not cross-hatching, it's different. Well, I guess there's some cross-hatching in there. It's wood engraving, and so they oftentimes don't cross, but like analyzing the structure of how he does that line is so incredible what they did. Randy says the face, but I think bodies and perspective are still hard for me. A lot of it has to do with point of view. Tell me in the comments if that is something that you've thought about in any context, because actually I think one of the best places to learn about point of view is in comics, because comics, usually there's so many panels and you can go from seeing something from the side to a bird's eye view. And I always recommend people look at comics because it's a wonderful narrative element to do that. And then of course the bodies change depending on that point of view. I have this problem too, Anna. Not knowing what to work on next because I have too many ideas. Jen says, partner keeps pulling my sketches out of my old sketchbooks or pulling things out of the trash that I didn't like and insisting they're good and I need to keep them or try to sell them. It's very sweet, but so hard to believe they're good when I already don't like them. I do think for a lot of us, we sort of make up our minds about a particular piece once it's finished. Tell me in the comments if that's the case. And so for me, Jen, once I've made up my mind that there's a piece I've done and I really don't like it, nobody can really talk me into seeing the value or trying to sell it, because the idea of needing to sell things as the option when we don't like something, I don't think is a great approach. I think when you want to sell something, it's a whole other mindset. Now, of course, sometimes people make stuff and then later they decide to sell, which is totally fine. But I do find there are certain pieces where I'm like, I don't want to be around you anymore. Please get out of my life. I don't want this drawing in my life anymore. And that's fine, to just move on to pieces that you don't feel are going to serve you in any way. So this idea of, well, if I don't like it, I should sell it, I don't think that's very practical. Sarah says, I'm a paper girly. Oh God, you guys, I was talking to Helena, who is my former student, and let me show you guys, because we did that reel about the ancient bricks. So let me pull this up so you guys can see. So this is the museum that my former student's family has. It's a private collection. It's a museum in Anhui province. And these are the 3 reels that we did for them. This one actually did really well. But I've been talking to her father about paper, and we're having a great time. So if you guys want to learn about ancient papers, and oh my gosh, he has so many supplies, but he understands the history of them. That's the thing. It's like, I think a lot of us, the average person, we go to the art store, we buy things, okay? But the way he uses and thinks about materials, it's all about their history and preserving that heritage, which I think is really amazing. So if you guys want to follow them, it is YQ Museum on Instagram. And I'm going to put that into the chat so people can see. Okay, let's get back into this. I feel like I want to work up here, so let me adjust my camera. And I also want to do some more scraping pretty soon. Wow, people have great opinions on boards and paper. It's fantastic. We can talk about supplies all day. Well, so tell me in the comments, how many people here have had an opportunity to learn about the history of some art supplies. Because you know something, it wasn't until I went to Pigment Tokyo, we have a video on it. Just look up Art Prof Pigment Tokyo. Oops. And that place, technically it's listed as an art supply store, but it is a museum. It's like a museum. It's like a museum, but you can buy things there. But oh my gosh, the way that they presented the supplies and explained the historical development of them, I was like, gosh, how come we never talked about this in art school? And so I've just been fascinated by this idea of learning the history of these pigments, because so much of it has to do with the geography of a place. Like when I went to Hiromi Paper, Japanese paper store in Culver City, California, every sheet of paper that they talked to me about had a history behind it. And they would talk to me about the province and the kind of vegetation that grew there. It was all on whatever was growing in that country that determined the kind of paper that they could make. And I had never really thought about supplies in that way. But that's why I've just gotten so interested in talking to people who can talk about materials from that historical perspective, because I don't know, like I was thinking about that, like why didn't we do that more in art school? We really didn't. And of course, the class that really does do that, Andrew Raftery's class, he didn't teach it until after I had left. I'm like, why did you teach all the good classes after I left? But he teaches a wonderful painting materials class where they make their own grounds, they make their own inks from, I think from walnuts, I can't remember. They cut their own quill pens from turkey feathers, that kind of thing. Dude, why did you have to invent all the good classes later? Okay, I'm working this shadow a little bit because there is a really strong shadow here. Sorry, I moved my mic. But that's why I've been so interested in what Helena's father has been doing, because the pieces he makes, everything is an ancient relic. And I just feel like the average museum director doesn't do hands-on stuff. Oh, so actually, let me pick your brain about this, you guys. Help me do some research. Love it. You guys are like my guinea pigs. You help me with so many things. What has been your experience in terms of museum education? Things that museums have to engage with the public, to learn about what's in the exhibition space. Have you found that to be wanting? Or do you feel very enriched when you go? Because certainly there's the museum plaques, okay? And I always read them. I really like reading those. But when Lauren and I, we were at LACMA, Los Angeles, what's it called? Is it county? Anyway, LACMA. It's where we went. And I think it was a Mondrian painting, but they actually had a Spotify playlist that was related to the paint. I can't remember why. There was some historical thing, like the music was somehow related. And I just thought that's awesome that they had a playlist for people to listen to. And we totally listened to it. I mean, there's so many times museums have things and I just don't read them, or I don't bother. Like, I never do those audio tours. Does anybody here do that? I don't know. I feel like maybe I should, but I don't know. I prefer just to roam free. I guess I feel like the audio tour, I don't know. It feels like I'm taking an exam. Who here likes the audio tours? I don't know. Maybe it depends on the audio tour. I'm sure some are better than others. Okay, I need to get into the hair some more because this is pretty empty here. Make this so you guys can see a little better. Because there's so many museum education programs, but I thought what was really wonderful about Helena's father is that he's the director of the museum and he's there making prints with little kids. And I'm like, okay, how many museum directors at major museums or even regional ones, doesn't have to be a big museum, how many of them have museum directors who are doing that hands-on interaction? And I happen to love it when at museums they show the materials. Like Nancy Elizabeth Prophet, a sculptor, she had a show at the RISD Museum, and they did have an exhibition where you could see her woodcut tools, and I really liked that. But I was like, you know, it'd sure be nice if they had somebody doing a demo or talking about the supplies or something, because the supplies are always like under a glass case. And I just feel like there's got to be more opportunity for something like that. Okay, let's do a little bit of scraping. Again, I'm going to turn off the sound because it's a little bit loud, and I don't think you guys want to listen to that. So I'll just do that for a few minutes. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see the scratch marks better because they're pretty fine. We're going to do the ones near the eyes. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, that's a lot better. Actually, let me take a photo of that hatching so you guys can see better. And I will, again, put that into the Discord. Jeez, this drawing does not photograph well. Okay, again, I'm going to turn off my audio because it's loud and scrapey sounding. It's pretty fun. Actually, let me try the scraping, and you guys tell me if it's unbearable. I'll just do a little bit, and if it's not horrible, I can keep it on. But if it's driving people crazy, let me know, because this actually is not as loud as the other one. If it's unbearable, I will turn it off. But tell me in the comments if this is okay for sound. Because I like the scraping part. I think it's really fun. I don't know if this falls under good ASMR. Apparently, there's a whole world of ASMR art videos. Okay, so it looks like people are saying it's okay. Okay, if it ever gets really bad, just type into the comments and I'll let you know. I'll turn it down. Because actually, right now, I'm not scraping that aggressively. Sometimes I do later, but right now I haven't really done enough for that to be the case. I mean, between the two, I like the scraping more. I think I've always been that way. I always like reductive processes. Like, for example, with clay, people often associate clay with adding. But actually, I find the removing of the clay to be more interesting and easier. For those of you who have done something reductive, did you enjoy it? Because I don't like it when it's like a stone and you like hack something off. I did a wood carving class when I was in art school. And oh man, when you lose pieces, it's just the worst. It's very stressful. But clay is easy. You can always put it back. Or with charcoal, I really love drawing with the eraser, just like removing highlights like that is really nice. Because I think we do grow up thinking about drawing as a pencil thing where we add, and erasing is just there. So that way we can get rid of our mistakes. Oh, good. I'm glad it's not bothersome. I thought it was going to be really bad. Maybe it's this knife. This knife I have, if you guys look at it, it's rounded. And I just found that to be a good surface. See, now we're getting to the fun part. The beginning of the drawing is, I don't know, although I'm still waking up. Like, waking up to draw. That's a different thing. Oh, here especially. Okay, I'm going to mute this because I have to press really hard here. Hang on. Okay, that I'm sure you wouldn't have wanted to listen to. That was very hard digging. I mean, that's the nice thing about the Dura-Lar is that it's so strong that I can use a lot of force and it's like totally fine. Okay, so I want to hint a little bit at the edge. Oh, actually, I got to work on that part. That part is like super black right now. Yeah, again, everybody, if the scratching bothers you, just tell me in the comments and I will definitely mute. No problem for me to do that. Yeah, if you guys look here, this is super flat because it's all black. Well, welcome, Nicola from France. How many people here have been to France? I was in France, gosh, it must have been 1996. Anyway, we were in Paris, and apparently that was the coldest winter that Paris had seen in like 50 years. And I was like, oh my God, this is making it really unpleasant to go places. It was that cold when it's like it hurts. It's so cold. And I was really obsessed with going to see the Gothic cathedrals. I saw almost all of them. They're all about an hour outside of Paris in these small towns. Who here has seen a cathedral or a palace or a castle in real life? Because, wow. Actually, what I really want to do, I want to go to England. I did go to England in 2004, but I was only in London. I didn't have the chance to go to other places. I did see Stonehenge when I was a high school student, but I didn't get to spend a lot of time. Would love to go to London. I mean, I think the amazing thing now is enough people have seen our YouTube that I can show up in almost any city, and there are people in Art Prof. Brittany's asking, in person or just on TV? In person. How many people have seen a palace, a castle, a cathedral? Because I look at these old structures, and you think about how incredibly primitive their technology must have been. And they make these just extraordinary pieces of architecture that, I mean, I don't think anybody's ever going to make a Gothic cathedral again. Some of these cathedrals, they took more than somebody's lifetime. So in a Gothic cathedral, whoever started the cathedral probably did not live to see it done, which I think is kind of nuts. And that must be such a sad thing. Like, you start this incredible piece of architecture and you never get to see it finished. I think that's a big bummer for the architect. I think some of the cathedrals took like 200 years, 150 years. It's like, how do people have this kind of patience? You know, now it's like, yeah, people decide in 1 second if they want to watch the video. And I'm like, maybe we need to go back to those days where, yeah, you had to wait a little bit for certain things. I mean, part of me likes that things are instantaneous, but I also think sometimes, like, learning to wait for something is, I don't know. Do you guys think that's a skill? Or do you think it just depends? Because I've had things that I've wanted students to do, but they just didn't want to do because it took a while or felt too hard. And part of me sympathizes because there are things, obviously, that are not doable for everybody. But the other part of me is like, maybe you guys should just let it take forever and let it be difficult and just be okay with that. Oh my God, you guys, the mouth is crooked. It's so crooked. Do you see? It doesn't line up with the nose. What the heck? Oh my God, that's so bad. Okay, I know. I'm going to move the nose over. Okay, so we're going to put this here to bring it in on the left. And we're going to scrape out the side. Okay, this I'm going to mute. This is going to be very loud. It's still, oh my God, it's so off, you guys. I have to take a picture of this so all of you can see. Ah, it's so bad. Okay, well, I know exactly how to fix it. This is not a concern. I'm just going to put this into the Discord before I forget. Nose and mouth do not line up. It's pretty funny. Okay, but I know exactly how to fix it. Hang on one sec. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that way you guys can see better what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, it's so bad. And a reminder to everybody, there is a discount on our color ebook during this stream. It ends when the stream ends. That link is in the pinned messages in the chat. Okay, so you can see I'm blocking that out. Usually the ebook is $25. It is $20 until the end of the stream. Oh, actually, I need to, okay. I need to do some moving around. I think this also needs to move over here. So I'm sort of pushing the mouth over there. Okay, that's a little bit better. Isolda says, my nose always looks like it's facing forward when the rest of the face is not. Oh, noses are very complex structures that, to me, it's like they really don't make a lot of sense. Some people have very strong reactions to noses. Did anybody here? Okay, who here saw Roxanne? That movie with Steve Martin from the 80s? That movie is all about a nose. That movie's hilarious. So if you don't know about that movie, it's basically, it's an 80s version of Cyrano de Bergerac. And in the story, Cyrano has a very large nose. And Steve Martin has a really good one. It's like very long and weird looking. That movie still makes me laugh so hard. Okay, let's remove some of the black down there. Let me mute it. This is going to be very loud. Wait, what? Roxanne was filmed in your hometown? Whoa. That's so cool. Actually, I saw a short from the Frick Museum the other day on Instagram, and Steve Martin was in it. But I thought it was kind of a bummer that they had somebody like Steve Martin, and it was just him narrating. I was like, dude, have him walk through the galleries. Steve Martin's so well known for his physical comedy. I'm like, how could you not put him in there? But he is apparently a major art collector. So is Leonardo DiCaprio. Did you guys know that? Okay, we're losing that nose a little bit. Let's bring that back. Oh, and this mouth, I really, really need it to align better. It's tricky because, okay, we got to work on the chin. Hang on. Hope you guys are liking the close-ups. Okay, let's take a break and let's see what people are saying in comments. Terminator 3 was filmed in your hometown? Your mom was working the fire dispatch one of the shooting days and people kept calling. You can't make that up. That's amazing, Salinas. George says, was in Vienna and Prague this spring. Seems like every other building was someone's house. You know what I always feel bad about? Anytime you go to a place like Rome, okay, there's this extraordinary architectural structure. There's all these churches, and they're all beautiful. But then, like, after a while, you start to get less impression, like, oh, yay, another Romanesque church. It's terrible. But there's so many of them. Like, they're everywhere. And then after a little while, it just becomes another Romanesque church. Yay. Does anybody else do that? Lisa says, I maxed out quickly on churches and castles. They all started to blend. Okay, so you understand that, Lisa. Oh, George, you got to tour Notre Dame a year before the fire. Oh, I cannot imagine that restoration they're going through. Oh my gosh. Oh, cool. So Anna, you've seen cathedrals in Europe. Ariel, also. Oh, you have been to France. Cool. Nice to hear that, Courtney. I need to go back to France. I feel like I didn't eat remotely as much as I should have eaten when I was there. Selena says, I enjoy lino cut and carving into my ceramic pieces. Oh, it's so fun in ceramics where they paint a glaze and then you can do sgraffito into it with your tools. It's so beautiful. So George says, saw an exhibit at the Albertini Museum in Vienna focusing on the development of papers with colored grounds on Renaissance drawing. Big impact from such a small thing. Oh, that's really great. I need to get to Vienna. I never went to Vienna. Thanks so much for sharing all of the information about museums, everybody, because I feel like I get to live vicariously through a lot of you. So Randy says, I saw a video about the dark history of our favorite art supplies and techniques. One of the supplies was mummy brown, which was literally made from the remains of mummies. I feel like I did hear about mummy brown at some point. I don't know if, yeah. I can imagine there's a limit to how much mummy brown is out there. Sarah says, hardest thing for me is incorporating creative aspects into drawing. I'm good at copying what I see, but have a hard time incorporating creative liberties and freedoms. And Brittany says, same here. I think it's one of the hardest things because skill, obviously important to hone and takes time and need a lot of patience to do that. But the creative side is really hard too. Sometimes it's harder. It depends on the person. But I know for me, I arrived at that kind of late because I was really fixated on realistic painting and drawing skills when I was in art school. And I do feel like a little bit of a late bloomer in that sense. Emmy says, sometimes I think it happens when I put a lot of expectations and it doesn't turn out the way I want. Absolutely. I think it's hard to manage your expectations because if we have expectations, it's so easy not to reach them. I think most people do not. And so for me, a big part of it is, I don't know, lowering expectations. I did that as a parent. I'm like, okay, you guys are alive. We're all set. You know, when you first have kids, you're like, my kids are going to play only with wooden toys from Switzerland. And then after a while, you're just like, fine, you're in your bed. We made it through the day. But yes, lowering expectations, definitely a helpful thing. Stephen says the stained glass window at the Cologne Cathedral was done by Gerhard Richter. I had no idea that he had done that before. Well, Marc Chagall and Matisse are both two painters who also did stained glass windows. And Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect, he also did quite a few. That is so cool. Well, I'm glad you made it, Counselor Chip. And a reminder to everybody, there is a discount on our color ebook right now. And you can get that discount until this stream ends. The link is in the pinned message in the chat. If anybody cannot find it, let us know. I'm happy to put that in the chat. In fact, I'll do it right now just because I mentioned it. Color ebook discount. So you just click on that link. That will get the ebook to you for $20 instead of $25. Counselor Chip says still carving in pyro, but learning metalwork for making stands. Setting up Millefiori soon. Jumchi is on the back burner, marinating thoughts and designs. Gosh, that sounds so amazing, Counselor Chip. Yeah, Jumchi is something that I learned about in the Southern Graphics Council conference, and we do have a playlist on Jumchi, everybody, because I did film part of that lecture. Very cool. And by the way, everybody, let me show you something that I am really, really excited about that I just announced today. In Art Club, I have introduced Art Club study plans. And this arose because I know so many of you have multiple interests, you have different kinds of goals, and I know it's really hard to keep track of everything. So the idea behind these study plans is that it's basically creating a document which consolidates all of your learning into one place. And it's a doc that you fill out. It's a slideshow. For example, we have a template that everybody gets, and then you get to customize it. So here is the table of contents for the study plan. But somebody using this might say, oh, I'm not interested in exhibiting. So people will delete the items that they're not interested in. And then we have other places and templates that you guys can go into. This is something we're only doing in Art Club, but it's a chance to really develop your own curriculum and to track your progress, which has been really exciting. And I have instructions inside the template for how to go about doing this, because I think it's like what I said earlier about, well, what do I draw? Or what do I do next? How do I fill the gaps? I don't even know what the gaps are in my learning. And so the study plan is intended to give you guys that guidance, because raise your hand, well, tell me in the comments who here is self-taught. And I think one of the biggest challenges if you're a self-taught artist is creating a plan for how you want to go about your learning so you don't feel so scatterbrained. This is an experiment. People in Art Club are my guinea pigs, but already people seem very excited about it. And I'm excited to see people customize the study plans and also for people to see each other's study plans. So we'll see how it goes. I'll report back, but I'm thrilled. Number one, that I got it done, but also, I don't know, anytime I get to do something that's an experiment pedagogically, I'm always really interested in that. Yeah, okay. Jen says mostly self-taught. Still working on mine. Very excited. Yeah, we have a channel in the Discord for the study plans, and it's a great place for people to share things. Because I think most people know I have a general interest in these certain things. I might want to do this. And I think a lot of us have things we want to do right now, but we also have things where we say, you know what, maybe in a few years, or maybe next year, or maybe 2 months from now, this is something to do. So the idea behind the study plan is that it queues up all of those things. And of course, you adjust as your interests change, but that way you're never left asking, what do I do now? That's what we're trying to avoid, because it doesn't feel great to have that. Yeah, like 7A says, it can be overwhelming for sure when you could go anywhere to pick a direction. Also, there's just so much information online, and I make all kinds of recommendations for people. I send them tutorials and links and everything, but oh my gosh, it's impossible to keep track of all those things. A bookmark is sometimes not the best way, because eventually your bookmarks bar gets very full. And so this is one document that we have. Yeah, like Brandon saying, one of the hardest things is being overwhelmed with there being so much to learn. Hey, Karasu. Oh, so Lisa says, I asked AI Gemini for a plan to learn drawing. Pretty generic response. No surprise. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys in our club don't mind being my guinea pigs. Okay, let's get back into this. We're going to fix up what's happening down here in the chin. I feel like that area is really lacking a lot. Oh, Karasu, positive experience with an art history professor. Tell us about it. I'd love to hear about it. In fact, everybody tell me in the comments, what is a positive, who is a teacher who you had a positive experience with, and why? Because I learned early on, sometimes as teachers, I think we forget just how impactful what we say is. I mean, I'm sure I have made mistakes in terms of how I've spoken to students. Even sometimes the wrong word can really rub people the wrong way. And I think that does sometimes really determine for people, because if you never have a good experience with art history, you're never going to think it's a good subject. Like, here's an example. I had a high school teacher for math, Miss Hillier. I remember her. Math is not my cup of tea, okay? I was never good at it. And a lot of the math classes I took were just exceedingly boring. But one thing that Miss Hillier told us that I thought was just wonderful, she gave us a reason for why learning math mattered. Because I think we've all done that thing where we go, oh my God, why? Why do I need to learn the quadratic equation? This is so not relevant to my life. And she said, it's not about the quadratic equation. It's actually just about learning how to think mathematically. And I heard that and I thought, whoa, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense to me. That it's about a means of thinking that is different than if I think about things in a more spontaneous way, like thinking more logically, which for me is not really something I'm very good at. But when she said that, I was like, okay, this is worth it. But also, she made it fun. Anybody here remember proofs? I love doing proofs. I don't know, they were like very satisfying when you really make that work. So she was really the only math teacher I really liked. And so that's why I think, well, so one of my kids is starting college soon. And the advice I always give to college students when they're trying to pick classes, I say, don't pick it based on the subject. Because if you have a bad teacher, they can ruin your favorite subject. But if you have a great teacher, they can make you love things that you really did not like before. And that to me is the magic of somebody who's a really strong teacher. Give you a reason to enjoy something when you thought there wasn't one before. Okay, here I'm trying to raise the mouth. I think the mouth got a little bit too high, so we're going to go in with some crayon. So you can see that the crayon and the scratching is together, because I just put down some crayon, then I just scratched some of it away. Oh man, you guys, it feels so good to draw. It really does. And it's nice because this is a technique that took me a long time to hone, but that I really do enjoy a lot. Okay, this is starting to look a little feathery, the edge. I'm going to clean this up a little more. And maybe a little bit lighter. So in some of these areas, I'm not pressing down very hard because I just want a little layer of a slight amount of darkness. But that is starting to come together. Now down here, I feel like I'm missing a whole chunk of muscle. Like there's this one spot that sticks out more. So I'm going to go in and pull that out, make it a little bit lower. Yeah, I lost a lot of flush down here. I gotta take all this away. I think so much of the drawing, it's like you put it down, you take it away, you put it down again. Oh yes, okay, this is feeling better, everybody. It was feeling really shaky at the beginning, but I also think part of that is that I wasn't warmed up. I always feel like it takes me a while before I feel like I get in the drawing groove. I feel like I'm starting to get there. Especially when I started doing the scraping, it started to feel a little better. But anyway, I love seeing people are adding stories about teachers. And I had a teacher I fought tooth and nail. We had a fighting match, shouting match in front of the dean. This is a grad school. This is not RISD. And, you know, he was being a real jerk. And really was responding emotionally, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to control yourself when you're the teacher. That's something I always tried to do when I taught, was to just always keep my cool no matter how loud the student was yelling. And that did happen to me on many occasions, student getting really upset and shouting at me. But I think the important thing from a teaching point of view is you have to keep your cool, because the second you lose your cool, that's really bad. It's unprofessional, no matter what the student is doing. But it was hard. At the beginning of my teaching career, I actually had a student who was deliberately coming to my class to bother me. And that was really hard because I was really young. Like, I hadn't taught for that long. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself at that time. So while I sympathize on both ends, I also think there's also circumstances where, gosh, there's nothing you can do when somebody's being a jerk like that. Like, I actually had to get the dean to intervene because it was bad. This is really awkward. Really awkward face. I feel like I'm not, I don't know, I think this needs to be darker. I'm drawing it too dark, and then we'll remove some more. But I definitely feel like I'm missing, there needs to be like a little more fleshiness here. maybe more articulation. I'm going to build it up some more. I think it's not enough. Right now, I'm not pressing that hard. Maybe I need to just color a lot of this. Randy's asking, have you ever made a decision in a piece too quickly and then acted on it too quickly and instantly regretted it? Like every piece. That always happens. I just assume stuff like that is going to happen. To me, that's a given. But I think one thing that is important to develop, and this is not an easy skill, but to understand that it is not always the apocalypse. And I think sometimes if you haven't had a ton of experience, it really does feel like nothing is fixable. But it's not. Usually it just means that you're not done yet. Maybe you need to get some feedback to figure out what to do next. Do you guys really feel like there is things? Depends on the technique. Some things are more that than others. Pen, you can't erase it. However, my student Song Kang has. I always try to get people to not give up too quickly because there's so many more options than we think there are. I think it's just like when you've made up your mind. I always tell people, listen, before you decide that, get your this, and then it becomes like, oh yeah, I could do this, this, and this. It's just if you don't have that feedback, it's really difficult. That is definitely better. It's strange, the lighting here. Feel a little bit more dimensional. And shadow, sometimes it just feels like in that spot. Wider than what I did before in the older portraits, because I was using a razor blade, and I think sometimes the lines were a little bit too thin. I like this, get lines that are a little bit wider. Okay, I'm going to take a photo, and let's see how that's looking. Yeah, sometimes the internet gremlins, they come hang out sometimes. All right. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. I know sometimes the internet gremlins are there. We're going to go into the Discord. And let's see what people are talking about there. Wrong window. We are in the Art Alongs channel, everybody, in case you don't know. Oh my gosh, Lisa, you drew Buddy. Look at this. So this is a photo. I took this picture of Buddy like half an hour before the stream. I'll show you guys the original photo, but it's in Art Club because we have that reference library of, here, let me put this up. This is the photo. Look at his tongue. It's so dramatic. Like, I don't think I've ever taken a photo of his tongue that looked like that before. So here is Lisa immortalizing Buddy's tongue. It's really, really funny. Sorry, it's probably my internet. Okay, let's see what else people are doing. Oh, and actually, let me upload my photos so that way I don't forget to do that. Okay, so it looks like, oh, Lisa, you drew Jennifer in ink. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Oh, I love the eyes and the hair. And also the integration of the orange and the blue. I like how the hand is loose and not as concrete as the hair. Like the hair is very present. Okay, and then Selena's second composition. Oh, wow. I love these shapes, Selena's. I mean, that's a really tall composition. Very challenging to get a composition like that going. Okay, so let me show you guys. This is where the piece is right now. Most of the hatching has been in the face. I really should be doing more, but let me show you what that looks like. So here you can see there's a more sculptural quality. Let's really zoom. And it's a little hard to see, but you can see. And you just keep going. But I really like these very dramatic strokes. And let me show you some of the ones up here. These are a little bit less dramatic. Okay, so in here, this is all crayon, but then I scraped into it. So this is all gray, but then this is scraping into that crayon. And then here, so these marks here, this is all etching ink. This is the scraping. And then this gray is the lithographic crayon. It's pretty cool. Angelic says, I have a great caption for this. Do I have something on my nose? That's pretty awesome. I love that. Cara Sue says, how can I accept the fact that I won't be able to go to art school or have a career as an artist without a degree? Hopefully going to work at a local art supply shop, but it won't be the same. You don't need a degree to work as an artist. You really do not. There are certain industries like architecture, like, yes, you need a license to work as an architect, but there's so many people right now who are making careers as artists who don't have degrees. Lisa Congdon, I'll put this in the chat for you. Lisa Congdon, she's a very successful illustrator. She's self-taught, doesn't have a degree. So don't tell yourself that those doors are closed. I would say probably most people don't have an art degree. Jen says, it's funny to me that you've been talking about not stopping too early. I remember the exact moment when I was in 6th grade and felt like I should have stopped sooner on an art piecing. Just sooner. I remember feeling like it was a lesson I needed to really mess up, trying to unlearn that now. A lot of it does depend where there's so many layers and it gets really muddy, and sometimes the paper doesn't take it very well. But in something like acrylic, where you can just keep painting over it, it's not a big deal. So watercolor is one of those ones where I do think just physically you can't really add that much more. Oil pastel as well, if you get to a point where you can't add more. So it's not real for that reason. Oh my gosh. Jen says, Lisa's piece reminded me, I also have a dog work in progress painting happening right now. Oh my gosh. Oh, your brushwork has so just joyful and spontaneous. Like I can feel him moving. That's just wonderful. And because it's kind of that quadratic equation, we need to teach budgeting and cash management. That we really do need to teach, because at least for me, I mean, I went to high school in the 90s, but there was no financial management class. And it's like, that really is extremely relevant. Tell me in the comments, how many of you guys in high school or college or anything ever took a practical finances class? Because for me, I learned all of that from my family. Like I had to learn about what's a Roth IRA and stuff like that. But they absolutely should have that in high schools, because that really matters. Brandon says, I remember apologizing to an art teacher for being annoying in class when she told me I didn't annoy her and was very kind to me. Helped me release. I should go to therapy for anxiety. Well, that's really nice that she said that to you. I'm really glad that you had that interaction, Brandon, because the thing is, so often students feel that a lot of things are personal, but they're really not. And you don't really figure that out until the person actually tells you, yeah, I don't care about that. Because I think in our heads, things feel very, very big and impactful, and really, like, most people don't notice. But I understand that. I mean, I'm the same way too, where, like, I'll do something and I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. And it's like, nobody noticed. I do think that gets easier when you're older, though. I think when you're younger, you're just so much more self-conscious about things. Selena says, I lucked out with professors in college. The head of the sculpture department sat down with me, basically laid out several paths I could pursue to ease the stress of having no idea about it. Let me tell you guys, for those of you who are in school or something, take that time to talk to your professors one-on-one. You get to know them better. It's a way more chill experience than talking to them in class. 7A says, the most positive experiences I've had with teachers who left an impression were ones who just believed in me. Hearing someone say that you have a skill you didn't see can be uplifting. Oh, it's everything when a teacher says to you, yes, you can do it. I think that's the difference between people quitting and not. Those little positive nudges, I think, are so much more impactful than people might think. We also have, Lisa says, it may depend on your personality. Some folks do more naturally. They need to pause more often. I know everybody has their own situation, their own luck, I suppose. I mean, my thing has always been, if I do place at the right time, that I'm ready. There's so many times I placed at the right time and they weren't ready. They weren't able to take advantage of it. I'm going to do a little bit more. And remember, everybody, you only have a little bit of time left to get that discount on the cut. I would get on that right now. I thought I put it in the Discord. Let me stick that in the Discord again, because I think that would be helpful. Discount goes away when the stream ends. So you guys are going to do that really soon, because that discount is going away. Okay, I want to do a little work on the hair. Oh my God, you guys, the head looks like, it looks like the head is blue because I didn't put anything in the hair. That's really dumb looking. Okay. We got to get some of that color into the hair because that looks really dumb. Okay. Yeah, I didn't put the crayon everywhere, and so now it looks like she has a gray face. Sorry, I'm muted. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that. It's a lot of tech. Actually, I'm curious, how many people feel fairly tech savvy, cry when they open their computer? Which is fine, I get it. Because, God, our lives are ruled by technology now. When I was traveling with my parents, so many situations where I was like, oh my God, this is really, really hard. Because I think I read some article. It was in the New York Times, and I think it was an experiment. Like, the reporter wanted to see if he could really truly unplug. And he said that it created so many problems to do normal things that he found it just impossible to entirely unplug. And I think it's just everything is on there. Like, sometimes you have to park your car and you have to like download an app to pay the meter. That I find kind of annoying. Like, I think you should just be able to put your credit card in there. But so many things like paying bills or whatever, it's like all in your phone. And it just seems like unplugging 100% is not really an option anymore. And I think it kind of was before. I think you could get away with it. But with all the apps and the financial stuff, I mean, I do all my financial stuff. I mean, I do it on my desktop too, but so much of it is done on a smartphone. Although I will say, you guys, I love traveling with a smartphone. It's amazing, like so many things. Does anybody remember in the 90s or 80s traveling and carrying this stupid travel book that was like 3 inches wide so that you could book a hotel? And it's like you couldn't even book the hotel unless you did it in advance or when you got there. And now, like when we moved cross country, we were just like booking a hotel wherever we ended up. And that kind of blows my mind that you have that flexibility now. We did not have that a ways back. Okay, that's feeling a little better. I think I want to do the bottom part. Ah! Shoot! Ow! I totally like stepped on my light. Okay, we're gonna work on the neck. The book discount, that is ending when this stream ends. The link is in the Discord, and it's also in the pinned message. If you can't find it, I bet you anything somebody here can help you. It's wonderful that we have that. So many people help each other in the Discord, in the live chat. It's really awesome. I mean, I always tell people, I mean, yes, you could wait for me, but it's so much faster if you just ask the community. Sometimes people answer things way better than I do. Like, I just learned how to embed a link into text in the Discord. I would just copy paste the link, but you can embed it. I mean, most of the time I don't do that because it's not that necessary, but I was like, wow, nice. You guys did my job for me. Okay, I really need black here. It's really press hard. This I might switch to the rubbing ink. Let me just see. Oh, this is not soft enough. Let me see. Shoot. You guys, I'm such a mess. I really need a more stable board. So this is the rubbing ink. The rubbing ink is a lot darker. And so that's why I switched to that. Because the pencil wasn't really doing that. Now I can get really dark strokes. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't like keep my board together. Coming together. I feel better about this. Wasn't so sure in the beginning, but I think it's coming along. Really, the whole neck should be pretty dark. I think I made it too dark over here. Let me just scrape. I'm going to turn off the sound for a sec. A little bit better. I'm just going to do a little bit more scraping. Oh yeah, that's better. I definitely think I got too dark here. Yeah, that's better. I really didn't want both of them to be the same darkness. This is better. Maybe a little bit more on the neck. But yeah, this is where I want the black to be happening. I'm going to do a little bit of scraping here. Let me mute. It's going to be really loud. Okay, I think that is looking way better. I'm going to take a photo to put in the Discord. Sorry, there's going to be a little glare on this, but hopefully you guys will still be able to see all the details. I'll shoot some better photos later. Lighting is a little bit challenging with this. Okay, so this is all going in the Discord. All right, let's see what people are doing in the Discord. Okay, what? Counselor Chip, this is a plaster project to be mounted vertically. Has been a fun medium to carve since stone is unobtainable. Meh for creativity. Glass lamp work rods penetrate the negative space. Wow. Oh, that is so cool. How did you get the rods to insert into the plaster? Did you drill holes? I love that you're combining two totally different materials here, Counselor Chip. Wow. Okay, so let me show you guys. This is where the portrait is at right now. And you can see here, this used to be very black. And I just went in and I pulled out some of these strokes. Okay, so you can see these are some of the strokes I put into the hair. And then over here as well, I also went in these scraped areas for the hair. So this is etching ink up here. This is scraped. And then this part, I actually use this. This is the lithographic rubbing ink. You can see how much thicker it is. This is also crayon. So you guys can have a better look at that in the Discord if you want. But here are some better close-ups of the hatching. Like here you can see that better. I do happen to like these strokes. I don't know. I like how they're all organic and stuff like that. Remember, everybody, the discount for the color ebook, it ends at the end of the stream. So you're going to want to click on that link. It is in the Discord. It's also in the pinned message here, but I'm going to put it again into the chat if anybody needs that. Oh, good. I hope the sound is working now. And also, everybody, a reminder that Art Club is our best program for learning. This is a great place to get unstuck. I think a lot of artists are working entirely by themselves. It's really easy to not know what to do next. We take that out of your hands and we just plop answers into your lap. It can save a lot of time. Instead of sifting through a million videos, you can get trusted, accurate advice. And remember, this is new. Art Club study plans. This is to help you guys consolidate your learning, keep things organized, and make sure you're not wondering what to do all the time. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye.